Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Superman Gen13. Caitlin Fairchild realizes a long-held dream of visiting Metropolis and seeing the Man of Steel in action. Whether or not that dream included getting clobbered by him and losing her memory, well, that's up for debate. As her friends search for her, eventually ending up at the Daily Planet, the Ginger makes her debut in classic red and blue, believing herself to be Supergirl. The cover is pretty fun, a small bubble of Cal as he looks quizzically at Kate and the actual Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, as they stand shoulder to shoulder, staring at each other. The latter's expression much more irritated. We open to Gen13 at a diner with Lois and Clark, where it's clarified for the third time that Caitlin's powers protect her from harm, and they need to find her. Kent asks if she wouldn't run off, but Sarah says that's not like her. She's got her stuff too together to even consider it. Rainmaker is clearly forgetting how the four of them were acting on the way to Metropolis. Frankly, running away would have been the polite alternative to simply throwing them all off the train. Lane thinks they should contact their guardian. And for a second I thought she was talking about the guy in blue and gold with the shield, because comics. But the group is firmly against it. As it is, they're considered unable to handle anything, which is why Fairchild always holds the money, does the driving, as well as other tasks apparently too mature for the rest of them. They then get on the topic of Superman, in a much less than glowing subtext, with Grunge saying they'd rather not be seen in public with such a stiff. Clark asks why they feel that way, which may be a mistake because then they go on that he's too much of a Boy Scout, needs to use more curse words, and get a new suit instead of acting like an altar boy. Grunge notes that if he were Superman, he would naturally be too busy using his X-ray vision on Wonder Woman to, save the world. Kent says he knows for a fact Big Blue would never do that, but the perv says he's just saying. Well, I've certainly had enough. And then he punches Grunge into a distant star in an IDW Transformers comic circa 2014. At least, that's how I'd like the next page to go. Instead, we go to Super Caitlin, who's in the subway trying to get some tokens, because she couldn't hail a cab. Which I kind of find hard to believe. Do Metropolis cabbies have something against cosplayers? Or saucy gingers in general? She laments to a pair of citizens that she can't remember anything, not even how to fly, and someone mentions kryptonite, specifically how there are different colors with different effects. Plaid kryptonite? Is that it? No, that one just makes Kryptonians crave haggis and become proficient on the bagpipe. It occurs to Kate that maybe it was red kryptonite that's inhibited her powers, blocked her memory, and changed her appearance. Maybe because she's got red hair now? I don't know. Though if you ask me, this may be an indicator that on a subconscious level, she knows how Supergirl normally looks, and it's not a 6-foot-tall carrot top. In any event, this means that the effects will wear off and she gratefully hugs the men that led her to this conclusion. And the shorter one, whose face is more in the chestal area, is grateful for her gratitude for obvious reasons. Elsewhere, while escorting Gen13 around, Lois notices something up with Clark, but he doesn't want to talk about it. She recalls something he said once, that he was never fashionable, so he'll never be unfashionable. Her point is that Superman isn't a fad to come and go and give nostalgic feels later. He's far more reliable, someone that can always be counted on. I know, Lois, but I really want to punch that Grunge kid, even if it would reveal my secret identity. I'll knee him in the crotch for you. You really are the perfect woman for me. Meanwhile, Caitlin is eagerly awaiting the return of her flight as she disembarks one train and continues waiting. There's suddenly a warning of a runaway train closing in, so she hops onto track 30, but it takes her a few tries to hear that the train is on track 29. She rushes across the platform in time to meet the transport, an impact that sees smoke rise to the streets. Gen13 is at the planet again, all suited up, except for Roxy, and all Grunge did was take off his shirt. Though it's still weird since they're trying to keep a low profile and all, but moving on. They get a call that Superman will meet them on the roof in 10 minutes. While discussing how perplexing it is that the guy would have a phone, or a home, because I guess they figure he just flies around 24/7, Jimmy walks in with photos of Supergirl's new look. Lois notices that this isn't Supergirl. You'd think that Olsen would have noticed too, since it's a completely different woman. And Grunge confirms that's Caitlin, and not by looking at her eyes.
Oh yeah, that's them. They're like fingerprints, they are.
It's funny because Grunge is a creepy perv.
As they leave to confer with Soups on this new lead, we go to the aftermath of Kate's intervention, which is not great. A lot of people were injured to varying degrees, all because she forgot how to stop a speeding train without derailing it. She blames it on the red kryptonite and swears to be more careful until she's fully powered again, though the train passengers aren't exactly understanding. Oh, and that blanket she's wearing? It's not 'cause she's cold. She apparently needs a new costume. She overhears a dispatch call about a cat stuck in a tree, figures that's a simple enough job for her in her state, and heads off. Superman arrives at the planet for his meet with GEN13, figuring if their friend is stopping crimes as Supergirl, it may make her easier to spot. James chimes in about the derailed train, and while it's not like Kara, Fairchild can sometimes be a klutz.
Yeah, she's always derailing trains, caving in buildings. Once she went to get a case of donuts, started 3 fires and a small earthquake.
Superman takes off while telling Lois to notify emergency services to detain Super Kate if they can. Speaking of, she's apparently managed to hail a cab and get a new costume, and weirdly looks like Dr. Beverly Crusher. Anyway, she's arrived at the time-tested cliché of an old woman's cat in the tree, and when climbing up doesn't work, she begins shaking it like the plant owes money to the mob. That does the trick, and the feline, Frankie, is back in his owner's arms. Not Supergirl rides the cab off into the sunset after a small but gratuitous panty shot right before the tree falls over and damages the apartment building.
I wonder if they're more insured or less insured if it was the result of a superhero from one universe that was dressed like the superhero of a different universe. What did I just say?
Her team is barely keeping up with Superman as they arrive at the scene of the train crash, only to be told that the fire started because of the falling tree, which has now spread throughout the block. Superman flies to that location while Kate has now taken the bus. I guess her cab finally ditched her. Of course, after all the chaos, I can't blame the driver. At the complex, the team has arrived with the fire chief, with all but one resident saved. There's a girl trapped inside, and the building is so damaged Soup's barreling inside is likely to bring it down around her, so he needs someone who's fireproof. Grunge nominates Burnout in an ever-so-witty fashion, and they head inside. As Rainmaker begins climbing a ladder, Soups and Burnout are right above where the trapped girl is. The younger hero suggests making a fire so hot it consumes all the oxygen and stars the other flames, but it's immediately shot down, as the girl is in too frail a condition to go without air. They descend a flight of stairs to the last tenant, and as Rainmaker dramatically summons a downpour, Cal holds the crumbling ceiling while Burnout gets the girl to safety. And this shot of him just watching Superman, a guy he previously mocked, that look says so much. Anyway, he and the girl make it out just before the apartment collapses, and Soups emerges from the rubble a moment later. Well, I guess this is as bad as it's going to get.
Unless Fairchild suffers another brain injury that makes her think she's a supervillain and starts actively causing destruction to the city. Though if she's as klutzy as her friends say, she may end up saving more people from danger that way.
Elsewhere in the city, a man is reading a Daily Planet newspaper with the headline, "Supergirl Busts Out," with a resized version of the picture Grunge commented on earlier. I'm not sure if the implication is that she had a wardrobe malfunction, which is not indicated by the picture, or that she's just bustier than normal. Likely the latter, but given what little I know of GEN13's tone back in the day, either one is plausible. Anyway, a sales box containing the papers gets smashed by Real Deal Supergirl, and she's not having any of it as the issue comes to a close.
It's been an issue filled with accidental chaos, crude humor, and leading up to what could be a very interesting confrontation. They say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So maybe next week we see those two idioms duke it out. I'm the Angry Spork, and man have I got issues.